And don't worry, I'll just make it a private video online so we won't put this all over Facebook or anything. But hey guys, thank you so much for coming out. I have been looking forward to doing something like this for a long time, I'll tell you that. And if we haven't met yet, my name's Brian. I'm actually the new guy with CEF. I'm a couple months into this state coordinator role and still very much getting my feet wet, but man, I've been learning so much. And one of just the things I've been wanting to do for so long was start talking to a lot of you guys who are the ones who are actually making this ministry happen. So I see a couple familiar faces, but some new ones too. So that's just exciting for me. And I don't expect this call to go particularly long, but I am hoping it's going to be really helpful and just give us a chance to talk about what is going on and what we're going to do and what's happening. So I don't want to take a ton of time to talk about myself, but my name is Brian. Been on staff for a couple of weeks. I live up in the North Denver area of the state in Broomfield. My wife, I got 2 little kiddos, a 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old daughter. So as you might imagine, my life is total, utter chaos, but we just love that. Family's been in Colorado a little over 2 years now. And have just loved stepping in with CEF and being a part of everything here. So we've been working so hard on stuff, figuring things out. But I just want to take a second and thank all of you guys, because if you're on this call, it means you're somebody who is integral to everything we do in this ministry with reaching kids. And I know a lot of you guys have forgotten more about child evangelism than I will ever know. So I'm hoping you can teach me a few things on this call if we want to have some conversation. We'll definitely open this up at the end, or honestly, you can feel free to raise your hand, interrupt any time. I think we're small enough where we can make this kind of conversational too. So feel free to interject. And I'm hoping by the end of the call, we all have just a really, really good idea on where we're going. So anyways, as I already said, guys, just thank you so much for being a part of this ministry, for the time, the sacrifices, the resources, all the investment you guys make. When I think of everybody around this entire state that shares this cause of reaching kids, it really just humbles me, and to be a part of it is super exciting. So let's kind of get down to what's going on, guys. I don't know if you've noticed, but 2020 has been quite a year. Has anybody noticed that a few things have happened this year? Unbelievable. Just one day after the other. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to find in the news one day or another, because it's just been one surprise and another. And obviously, we all know what's happening in the world, but all of us kind of got jolted earlier this year with COVID. And then obviously we have had a lot of things going on in our culture around politics and race. And of course it's an election year, just to add another layer of complexity to the whole thing. And this has been a really just huge deal for our ministry. Obviously, guys, we get affected a lot by what the schools decide to do, and we're working with kids. So there's a ton of liability there. And you're talking about health situations, you want to be as careful as you can. And so we've really just been racking our brains last few weeks, having endless meetings and conversations. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have thought about what your life might look like this fall in general, but maybe even with our ministry. And so I really wanted to talk through what we as a staff and our board and just the health professionals connected to our ministry have been talking about, and what we're hoping things can look like with reaching kids. Because here's the thing, the schools have been shutting down. Every day we hear about a new district making decisions about delayed start, or half online, half in person, or all online, or no after school activities. And it can be tempting for us all to say, well, let's just hunker down and see what happens. But we really are operating out of this conviction that no matter how crazy our world gets, child evangelism must happen. We have to find ways to reach kids. And we can't just allow ourselves to be pushed aside about all the other things going on in this world, because what we have to do, I would argue, is the most important thing happening on planet Earth. And so even with a global pandemic, and even with potential public schools not being fully functional, that's not even potential, even with the guarantee that schools will not be fully functional, we are going to be fully functional as a ministry on every possible level we can. And I just refuse to sit on my hands and sit idly by when we know kids need to hear about Jesus. And so that is our inner conviction driving this whole thing, is just because certain functions or organizations might be shut down temporarily, we're not. And I want to talk with you guys about what that means for us this fall. Now, here's the thing, just to kind of get down into even just nuts and bolts, and then we can have some real conversations. Here is loosely what our staff is talking about and thinking for the fall, and where we're hoping we can move forward across the state. And here's what makes this kind of interesting, guys, is this is a very district by district situation right now. Every school is choosing what they want to do. Some of this does get political, so certain areas just act differently because of those dynamics, and just everybody's responding very differently. And so this is going to have a very local impact on wherever you're at. And that's why we wanted to have this call, because what might happen in Denver may not be what happens in Grand Junction or Pueblo or Fort Collins. And so you guys more than ever have to be empowered to make the decisions that are best for the safety of kids and for what's happening in your school district. So you need to listen to this through a filter of what you know is going on in your community, because it's going to just be different. So here's the loose thing we're thinking right now. Our commitment is to be as personal as we possibly can when it comes to reaching kids. That's our goal. We want to be as personal as possible. And there's a lot of people going straight online, and there's a lot of good reasons to do that, and we understand that, but we're looking at where are those opportunities where we can still be present in kids' lives. And it hurts my heart, because I've already have a handful of experiences and stories where you have these little elementary school kids, and they don't understand why they can't be around their friends or be around these people who love them, and that can be very confusing for a young person on why I can't have access to these people I'm supposed to know and love and be known by. And we understand there has to be some parameters, but we also are really trusting that there are safe and healthy ways to still engage kids in person. And again, you have to listen to this through your filter, but that's driving us. Now, here's another thing that we're kind of operating by. If the schools won't let us meet, then we are looking at alternative meeting places that are safe and healthy. And the two that we have already seen some real success and opportunity with are smaller churches in the area who've been very receptive, who are near the schools, and homes and neighborhood park areas and the like. And actually, CEF has a history of having some very successful neighborhood and home outreaches and programs for kids. And that is something we think we can actually be very effective with. I live in a neighborhood that is over 50% young families. Just everybody's got little elementary kids and preschool kids. And I'm just kind of loosely asking them, how are you feeling about school? Your kid can't really experience first or second grade. And as much as careful as they want to be, they were still very excited and open about opportunities for their kids to be around other kids and have opportunities to get out and socialize, which is why we are feeling strongly that there's still going to be a lot of families and a lot of kids and a lot of people who are willing to send their kids to experiences they know will be positive for them. And another component of this is just the promotional aspect, because obviously we've borrowed a lot of marketing, if you want to call it, promotional energy from schools and the opportunity to have a platform through that. And now we're talking about how we need to be much more creative with getting the word out. How do you get to people who are locked in their homes or, are trying to be very protective? And this is the amazing thing about the 21st century. I mean, we're probably meeting over a handful of cities right now, and there are some great platforms. I mean, just some simple ones you guys may know of already. One of our staff members brought up the Nextdoor app. If you don't know what that is, that's an amazing tool where you can see what's going on in your neighborhood, surrounding neighborhoods. You can post different things. Some people sell stuff on them. They let people know about events. It is usually very driven by, younger moms or families and stuff like that. So it would be great for our target. There's tons and tons of Facebook groups for local elementary schools. There's moms groups. There's so many. There's mothers of elementary schoolers, mothers of preschoolers. My wife's in like 8 of them, and they allow you free promotion and opportunities to talk about what's going on in your community. And those are just 2 free ways to get the word out, to get access and know about ways their kids can be engaged. I will let you guys know, the CEF has been putting out a lot of resources around these Zoom clubs that can be done. I think that's a great resource and definitely an option we want to have. My personal, and this is what I would love to hear from you guys when we start up a conversation, I'm trying to imagine 20 to 30 elementary schoolers on a Zoom call with some of you. And I'm starting to pray right now, trying to envision you surviving that, because that just sounds like utter chaos to me. But if you are someone who's super tech savvy and you think that could be really effective, I am not going to stop you. If you want to go out there and be the king or queen of the Zoom child evangelism world, I would love to learn from you on that one. That is not something I am absolutely enforcing, on our state ministry and saying we have to be on the Zoom, we have to make it work. Because I just know I've been talking to, particularly I was talking to someone who runs a couple clubs more down south, and she works in more low income schools and, level 1 schools. And she's like, Brian, these kids aren't going to be getting on the computer. Their parents are trying to work. They're trying to stay above water financially. They're just under a lot of stress. She's like, I just know the Zoom strategy may not be good for the types of families I'm reaching. And I think she made a great point. And so I just know for a lot of you guys, that's something you're going to have to think through, is how well you think you can digitally engage your kids, if that's even an option at all. I think it's a challenge, but again, I'm just opening that door for you guys to think about. But here's the thing, guys. I know that there's, a lot of fear, and there's a lot of people interpreting and handling, just the COVID thing differently. When I think of my own neighborhood, we have a few neighbors who have barely left the house since this happened because their kids have severe asthma or diabetes or other health risks that, just kind of make them a little bit more nervous, which I totally understand. And then I've literally seen families who are like, we're never going to wear a mask, like we got this. And I understand there's a wide spectrum there. So we want to be sensitive to that, absolutely sensitive. And for you guys, I just want to let you know, I would never want to ask you to do something that would make you uncomfortable personally. Because some of you guys, you might have health risks, or a family member who has health risks, and you're in contact with them. You need to keep yourself protected, or just the families in your community and how they're responding to it. So that's why I'm really leaning on your guys' wisdom and insight, and really just intuition on what you truly think will be best for you to effectively engage, the kids and families in your community. But at the same point in time, I just want to really emphasize this. We do not want to be passive right now. It would be so tempting to say, well, let's just ride this semester out and see what happens in January. And something about that is like, well, I guess that works. It's not that much time. But I really don't want us to lose any opportunities to reach kids, even just this semester alone. I want us to be super proactive. I want us to be creative. I mean, these are the times, guys, when new ministry ideas flourish. These constraints can be the best thing that ever happened to our ministry, because we'll be thinking about ways to engage kids in ways we never would have imagined before. And so I'm really embracing this as an opportunity, thinking, God, okay, you've given us this wonderful privilege now to think outside of the box, to think in ways that we've never even thought of before. And some of you guys are going to come up with ideas that have not even crossed my mind at all, or any of our staff's minds. And you're going to let us know, and it's going to change the way we've done ministry. I mean, I'm looking at Kirsten on this call. When I first started, somebody sent me a website she put together for her kids when COVID happened. It just blew me away. She went after it. She didn't ask for permission. She said, I'm going to keep reaching my kids and engaging them. And she had all these teachers involved. And so I'm just giving her one shout out, because that wasn't anything we thought up or told her to do. She just was like, I'm going to reach my kids. They need Jesus. They need somebody loving and serving them, even from home. And so for you guys, this is basically, I'm giving you full permission to get out there and experiment and try things and ask questions and make mistakes, and really just get the creative juices flowing. Because honestly, that's what our whole ministry is founded on. You go back the 80 plus years, CEF is just a miracle of God, and just the tens of million kids that have been impacted. And I'll tell you, the people who've been a part of this ministry, we didn't reach kids because we were playing things safe. We were trying to do what's always been done. You could argue that CF has historically been one of the most innovative ministries in the history of Christianity. And this may be the defining moment for our ministry to set the pace for the next 100 years of our ministry. So I really, I just want to let you guys know, I'm actually excited about this fall. There's definitely some trepidation of like what's going to happen, but there's also a side of me that's like, this could be one of the most fruitful seasons of evangelism we have ever seen in our state and in the world. So with that being said, I gave you guys kind of my loose little pitch. I know that was kind of simple and overview, but I would love from some of you guys who are leading clubs and teams and involved with our ministry, I would love to give you guys a chance to ask questions, thoughts. I would love to hear how you're feeling, what you're thinking. Let's have a little conversation. So can I open up the floor? Is there any brave souls out there who want to get the conversation started?
Go ahead, Brian. I just heard from my administration at Bromley's Charter School in Brighton that they want us to continue with the online format for this year. We have full support. We are so blessed that administration is 100% on board with Good News Club. We have no resistance, but they're not allowing after school clubs. So we are the only club that's been allowed to continue online. So.
Glad to hear that, Kirsten. Now, I just to ask you, and maybe this will help everybody else. So you guys, they're saying, go ahead, go online. Do you see any benefit of trying to pursue some sort of alternative in-person thing, or do you feel like online has been a good platform for you guys? How are you kind of processing that?
I think, being a staff member at the school, I don't think that they would allow me to advertise for any kind of in-person thing because of, legalities as far as COVID. I personally would be happy to volunteer, myself at another setting if that's something that we do. But I think, for the Bromley kids specifically, I think it's going to have to be in that online format this year.
What have you guys learned about just doing the online format? Because you did a little bit already last semester. Got any tips or insights for anybody listening in?
I think, because we're a school and we have to go through our tech support and our tech channels, we use Google Meet for our kids because it actually keeps a written transcript of everything that's said so that, if it's a, safety measure to protect the kids. So our tech support can pull up that Google Meet and see everything that was said, and you can record the meetings and then we can post them online or whatever. So on the website has been really helpful too. I just created a Google site for the kids and all of the worksheets, handouts, things like that from the curriculum. I go ahead and post on there, and then I use it's a site, it's called safeyoutube.net. I think I can send it out where I actually filter the CEF YouTube videos on there. So it removes all the ads so that they're safe for the kids. And then I post those links on the site for the kids. So, they have exposure to all the CEF materials too. So that's been a lot of fun, and the kids go on there and can download things in between meetings. And
Oh, that's great. Kirsten, I want to put you on the spot, but if anybody maybe were wanting to ask you or get any insights, if they were to ask me for your email or something, would that be okay if I passed it along?
yeah, absolutely.
You'd be probably okay with that. So if any of you guys, I think Kirsten has figured out a lot of the digital side of things, guys. If that's a direction you need to go in, she's probably one of the best people to talk about that. So feel free to reach out to me and I can pass on her info to you. My phone number and email were in the invite. I know that made it in there. If the password didn't make it in the call, I know my info did. So if I can ask anybody out there, Kathleen, you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to say I'm Kathleen Chandler, and I'm the chairman of the board for CEF of Colorado. And on behalf of the board, I just want to thank you for praying for the children, for being there for the children, for the financial component that you're donating to, just to all of the support that is you guys are giving to CEF. So just on behalf of the board, I want to say thank you. And my church has a club as well, and I'm the coordinator for my club. And we are struggling because just like Kirsten, Cherry Creek School District is not allowing us to have any after-school activities. But we have connected with a homeschool mom. She's actually on my team, and she is willing to do a co-op at her home. So the in-person aspect that what Brian was talking about, we're going to try through one of our homeschooling moms. So she's going to advertise it on her homeschooling sites and working through all of that through the homeschool. And then hopefully that'll filter then to the children that are part of our club. Although her home is not really near the school, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out with the particular school that we deal with, which was Summit Elementary School. But it is an opportunity for a new club to maybe start in her home. So if you know homeschoolers, you might want to connect with them because they have an opportunity through the platforms that Brian was talking about, homeschool platforms, co-ops that they've already started, that they might be willing to do an opportunity there. Because most schools are not doing after-school activities, a lot of the co-ops that go through the school district, because she sends her kids to school one day a week, they're not doing anything either. So she's taking up that slack. So parents still need time away from their children. Parents still need that opportunity for their children to be engaged. And so a homeschool co-op opportunity is a great place to think about as well. So kind of a twofold, an idea if you know homeschoolers, but mostly I again wanted to say thank you. on behalf of the board, you know, CEF in general, I mean, all the way from headquarters in Warrenton, Missouri, around the world. I mean, this is a worldwide pandemic. So the things that we're dealing with here in, you know, our neck of the woods here in Colorado is certainly not unusual to the state of Colorado, to the nation at wide, and to really the globe. And so I would ask that you would continue to pray for CEF nationally, and think of creative ways that we can help those not just in our own neighborhood, but those are really around the world with innovation, donations, but prayer and methodical thinking about how we can continue to reach children for Christ. So thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. You got a hand
Brian, one thing I was thinking about is think of all the parents of the kids that are in your club at your school, and perhaps there's one who's shown more interest or been more open or come to visit more often, who might open their home, and that would at least be within the district, very close, hopefully close by district wise, that they might be willing to host a club in their home.
I would love to ask any leaders out there just what your thoughts are on your ability to do any type of in-person, or if you think that'll just be too hard to pull off, whether you have the contacts or limited contacts or whatever. I would just love, because, you know, we sit in our offices all day and just brainstorm stuff, but you guys, you're out there. So if one or two people can just speak up and let me know just kind of what you're thinking and feeling for the fall, and what you think it might look like in your unique area.
I'm Mary Connold, and we have been doing club at, well, first Stein, and then it became Emory. We, as a church, have been trying to look at and pray, and quite truthfully, our church has such small classrooms. We're even struggling with how to have Sunday school at our church. But in the larger space, we actually did invite Good News Club kids as well as our church kids. We had very small attendance, but we did just a Wednesday night, kind of condensed, only a 1 hour program. But that's kind of what if I can find enough interest, you know, hoping to invite families into our church for a midweek. And doing it evenings, what we did is we invited the family, so that, you know, we then had the box of supplies, you know, that each family could sit on their own blanket together and work on, you know, craft and coloring sheets, and, you know, so that, you know, one of the other things, we have a whole lot of kids with, I guess, discipline issues is the way to put it. And when we can't engage them the way we used to, that's why we were thinking, try to have parent come, so that if there is an issue, they have their child to control.
Great, Mary. I'm glad to hear that your church is open to helping out with this. And again, I think that's a great insight from this, guys, for your local churches, having a conversation with them and seeing what their openness might be, especially if the school, because what Kirsten was saying is, I think we're going to see a lot of that. Not even if the school is partially open, their after school programming will likely not be. I think that's, I don't want to say that's an assumption we want to make for all the school districts, but I think we're going to see that happening more so than not. So thanks for Mary. Is there maybe one other person who would like to give us some insight on kind of what you're thinking or seeing? Laura?
Yeah, well, I did Good News Clubs at my house for years and years before I moved to the public schools. And so I've just been really praying about the opportunity to do something at my house. I definitely am keyed into my neighborhood Facebook page and the next door, and feel like, you know, if I could get 10 kids at my house for this semester, that's what I'm gonna pray about and go about doing. And I don't know, Ashley, you can speak to this, but I think if you do decide you want to do something at your house, and you need extra people, there may be some CYIA, the Christian Youth in Action students, who live around near your area that would be willing to come alongside you and help at your house if your team isn't able to help you, because of course we would still need to have 2 people here all the time and all that stuff. But that's what I'm praying about. I do like Kathleen's thing about going through co-ops, homeschool co-ops. A lot of times, this is just my opinion, a lot of times those are church kids and very Christian family kids. Not that they wouldn't definitely benefit from some of that, but just to try to maybe intentionally try to get some unchurched kids into the club, because that's kind of what it's for. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of learning pods. That's kind of the new thing that's coming up with moms, is doing learning pods and getting a couple families together to do this online school together. And so tapping into some learning pods in your neighborhood or something, and I'm sure that they would be wonderful. And this might be a great opportunity because kids are going to be home with not a lot of activities to do. And we may be able to do some stuff during the day while their parents are working, even at your house. So that's what I'm praying about for me personally.
Awesome. Great, Laura. Thanks for sharing that. And any other, we have a couple staff you can chime in too if you want, but any other club leaders here, just what you're seeing, learning, thinking that might benefit everybody else listening in?
Brian, one thing I was thinking about is some of our clubs have a lot of older volunteers. And so one of the first things we'll need to do is have each leader contact their volunteers and see who would even be willing, to participate in whatever way it might be. But one thing, if we can find a home, and I just talked to a lady who's willing to do this, who's not a CEF person, but she would open her home to her neighborhood, then I could take my team who doesn't have a club and go over there and do club at her home. So if we have a team that would be willing to travel, find out if you can't meet at a church near you or in your home or a parent home, maybe would you be willing, 2 or 3 people be willing to travel to another home to do a club once a week?
And just to reiterate, guys, I don't want anybody to think that we're trying to push you into a place where you're uncomfortable, feel unsafe, or where you health at risk. We will not ask that of anybody, and know that all of us individually have different thresholds of our comfort levels. So please, you use your best judgment. We are fully supportive of that and behind you on and we understand that some clubs may not be able to function because of that. But for those of you guys who are willing to step out and experiment and try things and learn some lessons, we would love to walk with you on that journey of what it looks like to engage kids, whether you got to go Kirsten's route and stay all online and honor the school system, or maybe you've got a church, a home, a neighborhood park, some way to get these kids together who are comfortable and willing to do that in a safe way. So I would just love as many of you guys who want to email me if you ever come up with great ideas or have questions. That's what we're here for, to help you guys be successful in reaching kids in your area. So this is not about the state office or any local chapter. This is just us trying to reach kids in our communities. So I would just love to share learnings and insights. Like I said, if any of you guys have tech questions, I think Kirsten would be a great contact, but just come through me. A couple of our staff are on this call, and I'll even give a little shout out. You guys heard from Kathleen, but Galen is also on this call. Galen Burnett, I want to give him a little shout out. Another one of our board members who I'll actually be doing a week-long trip this next week to raise awareness and celebrate and create community just within our CEF family. And I'll be passing through his town. He'll be hosting us, and a couple other of our staff are on here too. If I did them all, this would take a minute. So, but Galen, thanks for being here too. Appreciate just your leadership. Guys, I don't want to stretch the call out longer than it needs to be. I will post this online, this link. So I know some of you guys had other volunteers and leaders who couldn't make it, who were hoping to hear. But I think the biggest thing I just want us to take away, I don't know if you guys were hoping I had some sort of perfect solution for the COVID situation or the exact. Yes. Brian's just going to tell us what to do this fall. And the funny thing is, like I said, we can look at the situation and say, okay, we have to just kind of be a little bit more, passive and everything. But I'm telling you, we have to actually work that much harder now to reach kids. And I'm really asking you guys to ask you to join us in stepping out in faith and trusting that God has hundreds and even thousands of kids in this state for us to reach this year. and that we're not just going to wait a whole year to see what happens or even what the schools or the government decides. We're going to reach kids. We're going to do it as safe and as God honoring and as, government honoring as we can, but we're still going to keep reaching kids. So as personal as possible, how can you be as personable as possible this year with kids? And I think to the level we can do that, we are going to be successful. And just know, guys, I'm here for you. So I gave you, that was my personal cell phone number. Call me anytime you want. None of you guys seem like the stalker types. So I'm not too worried about that. But shoot me an email. We have wonderful staff who would love to walk through you, whether it's tech questions, reaching kids questions, what's the legal stuff with schools and the government and masks and sanitation strategies. And we're already putting forms together for you to use to kind of limit the COVID liability, because we want to protect you guys and not put you in any uncomfortable positions. So we're doing everything to cross the T's and dot the I's so you have what you need. So just know that that's all in the works as well. So, but thank you so much, guys. Just seeing all your faces here, to have you guys hanging out, knowing that this is going to go out to dozens more people through recording so people can know what's going on this fall. But we're going to trust you guys. We're going to lean in on your judgment, your wisdom, your initiative. I'm excited to hear what you guys come up with. We're in this with you. And I would just love for us to take a minute and pray together just over this school year, the kids, our state, everything going on. And Laura, did you have something you want to say before we do that?
I did just want to say that we are still planning a fall Good News Club teacher training. We do have a church that is willing to host the last Saturday in August. We're going to do a half-day training because we're not allowed to serve any food, which I know is a bummer because that's always a highlight of the training day. But we're going to do a 9 to noon training in the North area on the last Sunday. And then there's trainings in Grand Junction and Pueblo and Pagosa and all that's going on still. So keep your eyes open for that. And then also we have some new video training coming out, probably the middle of August. So if you don't feel comfortable going out, this could be a good time for personal growth for you. We have some great training on dealing with difficult kids in your club, on counseling, on lots of different things that you can get trained on. So just know that that's coming in August.
Yep. And I'm really excited about everything Laura's talking about. Everything Laura said will be, all the new training stuff will be on the website by the end of next week at the latest. And also I'll make sure all those dates Laura's talking about with the other trainings in person will be on our website too. I'll have her send those over. So someday, I think we have more info. Two hands, Marnie. And then
don't forget to let people know what our website is, our local website, so they can tap into all those things. And where will the video of this, the YouTube of this be? How do we find that?
Our website is coloradocef.org. And I'll make sure all those important dates and everything are on there. They actually already are. I just need those in-person ones from Laura. And then this recording, I will email out the link. But if you are interested, we do have a YouTube channel for our ministry. So if you search CEF Colorado and Google YouTube or anything like that, you'll be able to find it. And I'll also make sure that link is on our website under training.
Great.
So everything you need will be there. And I think Kathleen also.
Well, I was going to respond to what Laura was saying. And one of the things that I've been hearing a lot is because children are not in person with teachers anymore, they are not getting the help that they need as first reporters of abuse. They aren't getting the meals and that kind of support. So I really would hope that we can figure out an in-person opportunity, because as a person who is a first reporter for those kinds of things, we on the front lines might have to take up that mantle that teachers are not able to because they're not in person anymore. So let's really be praying for that, because that's a huge burden. And so I was at a meeting the other day, and they're saying that in some communities, reporting is down like 50 to 60%. And that might sound great, but it's not, because that means that those children are in a home where they're being neglected and there's no opportunity for any kind of intervention. So we need to look at this not only as a spiritual opportunity for sure, because we need to bring them the gospel, but we could actually save a child's life. And that to me is as is empowering as anything else. So just be thinking about that too when you're planning an in-person something, that we really, really do want to stress that opportunity to touch these children, because they aren't being touched any other way.
So good. Any last questions or comments from anybody while we're on the call together? Great. Well, guys, one kind of tagline I've been using with our staff is we are starting to just kind of say we want to change eternity one child at a time. And there is a child out there for you to reach this year, whether it's 1, 10, or 100. We just think one at a time. You can change legacies, generations, and completely transform the face of eternity together. That's the cause we're serving right now. So thank you again, guys, for being here. I'll put this video online. Everything you should be able to find from our website. I'll make sure all the pertinent info is on there. Training dates, information, links to things, coloradocef.org. Email me, call me, and we're here for you guys, okay? Let me pray for you as we close. God, I just want to thank you so much for this team of people here, for calling us together for such a time as this, Lord. And I pray we would not sit back in fear right now, but we would press forward in faith. And we're trusting you, Lord, to just open our eyes and our minds and our imaginations to ways we can reach kids, given the current dynamics, Lord. So just really fill us with just that conviction that there are so many kids that need Jesus, and that we can play a role in changing the face of eternity with our efforts, Lord. So I pray a special blessing on everybody in our ministry, that we would see some of the greatest fruit we've ever seen through your work in us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Kathleen, thank you.